Getting a new treatment, well, from the lab to the patient, it's just getting incredibly complex, isn't it? And expensive.
Oh, absolutely. A real marathon.
Which is why today we're doing a deep dive into something crucial, but maybe a bit behind the scenes, the global healthcare contract research outsourcing market. HCRO for short.
Exactly. I mean, think about all the steps needed to test a new drug or a device. You've got safety trials, effectiveness studies,
Hmm.
all while trying to navigate this maze of regulations. So companies, pharma and biotech, they're increasingly outsourcing this
To these specialized contract research organizations, CROs.
precisely to handle these really vital and often, let's face it, very costly processes.
And to really get a handle on the scale of this, we've got a recent market research report here. So our mission for you joining us today is to pull out the key insights from this.
Right.
We want to understand, where the HCR market is now, where it looks like it's heading,
What's driving it?
what's driving it, and maybe what challenges might pop up. We're really just focusing on the data here.
Yeah, and this report, it gives a pretty detailed projection. Looking at these numbers, you can really start to grasp the forces shaping how new treatments get developed and ultimately reach patients.
Okay, let's dig in then. The report, it kicks off projecting the global HCRO market to hit. Wow. USD 39,245.5 million in 2025.
Yeah, it's a huge number right out of the gate.
And it doesn't look like it's slowing down either.
Not at all.
Ah.
The forecast shows a really significant climb. It's expected to reach USD 67,431.1 million by 2033.
Okay. And that works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR.
7.00%. That's between 2025 and 2033.
7%.
Okay, which is, pretty substantial, consistent growth year over year.
Right. That kind of rate really compounds over almost a decade. So what's the main thing fueling this? What's the engine?
Well, a really big driver, the report highlights, is just how complex and strict the regulatory environment is getting worldwide, for healthcare products anyway.
Uh-huh.
Think about all the clinical trial phases, the super detailed data you need, the different approvals from different bodies. It's a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like a minefield.
It can be. And navigating that really requires specialized knowledge. That's where the CROs bring huge value. They've got the expertise, to help companies manage the rules and make sure they're compliant.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about saving money or resources. It's actually buying that crucial regulatory know-how. That makes sense.
Exactly.
All right, so let's look at the map then.
Right.
Where is most of this HCRO activity actually happening right now?
Currently, North America is the leader, holds the biggest slice of the pie.
Okay.
The report says in 2025, North America should account for over 37% of global revenue. That's about USD 14,520.84 million.
37%. That's definitely dominant. How does the growth forecast look for North America compared to, say, the global average?
It's still solid growth, but the projected CAGR is a bit more moderate, 5.5% between 2025 and 2033.
Yeah.
That would bring the market size there to around USD 22,252.3 million.
And within North America, is it mostly the U.S.?
Yeah, the U.S. is the main engine there.
Yeah.
Looking at about USD 11,456.94 million in 2025, growing at 5.3% CAGR.
Right.
And that's really driven by big R&D investments and, interestingly, more use of AI in research.
Yeah, okay. AI adoption.
Yeah. Canada and Mexico are also important, growing at 6.3% and 6.0% respectively.
So North America leads now, but maybe grows a bit slower than average going forward. What about Europe? Who's number two?
Europe is number 2, holding over 29% of the global share.
Okay.
The market size there is estimated around USD 11,381.20 million for 2025.
And the growth rate?
Projected CAGR is 6.0%, so
Yeah.
slightly below the global rate, leading to about USD 18,206.4 million by 2033.
Still pretty healthy growth. Any specific countries driving things in Europe?
Yeah, the report points out a few key ones. The UK, for instance, is projected at 6.8% CAGR, starting from about USD 1,912 million in 2025.
Okay.
Germany, which is a huge pharma hub, is expected to grow at 6.2%. That's from about USD 2,253 million.
Right.
And France is significant too, looking at 5.2% CAGR from just over $1 billion in 2025.
Okay, so North America and Europe are the established players, but you always hear about growth shifting east. What's the story for Asia Pacific, the APAC region?
Ah, APAC. That's where the report sees the fastest growth, by far.
Really?
Yeah. Right now, it's got about 24% of the global market, maybe
Yeah.
USD 9,418.92 million in 2025.
Okay.
But the projected CGR from 2025 to 2033 It's 9.7%.
Wow, 9.7. That's significantly higher.
It really is. That pushes the market size up towards USD 19,791 million by 2033, almost catching up to the others.
What's behind that kind of explosive growth in APAC?
Well, it's a mix of things. The report highlights really high-growth markets like China,
Hmm.
a projected a 9.2% CAGR, starting from nearly $4 billion in 2025, and India is even faster, looking at 11.6% growth.
11.6% for India. Wow.
Yeah, starting smaller, around USD 941 million, but growing fast. Key factors are things like, well, potentially lower costs for running trials there,
Right, that makes sense.
access to huge, diverse patient populations, and governments increasingly supporting R&D. It all adds up.
Lower costs, big patient pool. Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for rapid expansion. Okay, what about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa, are they seeing growth too?
They are, yeah. They represent smaller shares currently, but definitely show strong growth potential. South America, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The report has it at a 7.7% CAGR. Now, there was a slight inconsistency in the base numbers in the source, but using the later figure, starting around USD 2,697.2 million in 2025 and growing from there.
Okay, 7.7% growth. Brazil, a key player there.
Yes, Brazil is highlighted, expected growth around 8.3%.
And the Middle East, similar story.
Pretty similar, yeah, even slightly faster growth projected, actually.
Yeah.
8.3% CAGR.
Okay.
Again, using the later figure, starting from about USD 2,967 million in 2025.
Hmm.
Countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are growing strongly.
What's driving that in the Middle East?
Lots of investment in healthcare infrastructure,
Yeah.
a real strategic push to build up local research capabilities. Saudi Arabia's rate is projected at 8.6%, UAE at 8.8%.
Interesting. Okay, and finally, Africa. Often seen as a region with huge long-term potential. What's the HCRO outlook?
It's currently the smallest market share, around 2.2%, but again, solid growth projected.
Right.
Using the later figure here too, it's starting around USD 1,517.2 million in 2025, with a projected CGR of 7.3%.
And any specific country focus there?
South Africa is mentioned specifically, expected growth around 8.2%. You're seeing more international trials happening there, focus on infectious diseases.
Yeah.
But, infrastructure challenges can still be a bit of a hurdle in some places.
Okay, so summing up the regions. North America is the giant now, but APAC is really the growth hotspot, with strong potential also showing in the Middle East, South America, and Africa.
That's a good summary, yeah.
Now let's circle back to why companies are outsourcing more. The report must dig into the key market drivers, right?
It does. There are a few main ones. Firstly, there's just this growing need for really specialized expertise. Clinical trials are getting more complex, often global, and CROs often have teams deeply specialized in, say, oncology or cardiology.
Mm-hmm.
They know the disease, they know how to run those specific trials, sometimes across many countries.
That makes total sense. It'd be tough for every single pharma company to have that deep niche expertise in-house for everything they research.
Exactly. That's driver number one.
Okay, what's number two?
Secondly, companies are definitely looking to CROs to, well, reduce their operational costs and speed up drug development.
The efficiency angle.
Yeah. CROs can often benefit from economies of scale. They specialize in running trials, they have the processes, the infrastructure, so they can potentially do it more efficiently, maybe at a lower cost per patient, than a company trying to build that capability just for one trial. It streamlines things.
Efficiency, potential cost savings.
Yeah, always a powerful motivator. And the third key driver mentioned.
A third one ties back to what we said earlier, rising compliance requirements.
The regulations again. Exactly. That complex web of rules across different countries. It's a huge task. HCROs offer that regulatory expertise needed to make sure trials meet all the guidelines and standards.
Okay, so specialization, efficiency and cost, and regulatory navigation, those are the big pushes. But surely there are some headwinds too. What about market restraints?
Yes, the report does flag a couple of key concerns. One is definitely the growing risk around cybersecurity.
Oh, right. Data security.
Yeah, and the increasing regulatory scrutiny over how sensitive patient data is handled when research is outsourced. Protecting that data is absolutely critical.
You bet. Breaches or compliance failures would be disastrous, especially with health info.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's a big one.
And the other main restraint.
The other factor is the rising cost of, well, advanced research technologies, and also the challenge of finding and keeping top talent within the CROs.
Ah, okay.
As trials get more sophisticated, needing skills in AI, data analytics, the cost of those technologies and the specialized people goes up. That puts upward pressure on the service costs from CROs.
Interesting. So the very things making research better, tech and talent also make it more expensive. It's a balancing act.
It is, yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. How is the research itself changing? What are the key trends the report highlights in how trials are done?
Well, a really big trend is the increasing use of technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning,
Yeah.
and analyzing real-world data. Not just trial data, but data from electronic health records, wearables, that kind of thing.
Right, using all available data.
Exactly. These tools can help optimize trial design, find the right patients faster, and just pull deeper insights from all the data being collected.
AI and big data seem to be touching everything, so yeah, makes sense. It's big in clinical research, too. Any other major trends?
Another significant one is the shift towards virtual trials,
Mm.
or sometimes called decentralized trials,
Ah, yes.
remote participation.
Right. Using technology so patients can participate more from home, it can boost engagement, make data collection more efficient, maybe even widen access to people who couldn't easily travel to a trial site before. Virtual trials.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like it could really change the game. More convenient, potentially more diverse participants.
It definitely has that potential.
Okay, now let's break down the market itself. What kinds of services make up this whole HCRO picture? How's it segmented?
So, looking at the services offered, the report expects clinical trial services to stay the biggest chunk.
Makes sense.
That covers everything from, designing the trial, managing it, recruiting patients, monitoring the data,
Mm-hmm.
the whole operational side.
Got it.
But the fastest growing segment is identified as regulatory services.
Ah, directly linking back to that complexity driver we talked about.
Exactly. Companies seem to be really seeking that external help specifically for navigating all the rules.
Okay. And what about the types of diseases being researched? Which therapeutic areas see the most outsourcing?
Well, the report shows that oncology and hematology,
Hmm.
so cancer and blood disorders, make up the largest share right now.
Not too surprising given the focus on cancer research.
Right. High prevalence globally, lots of new therapies being developed, massive investment in oncology R&D. That all contributes.
Uh-huh.
But interestingly, the report highlights the central nervous system, or CNS, segment as expanding really rapidly.
CNS. So brain-related conditions, neurology, psychiatry.
Exactly. It reflects a growing focus on finding treatments for conditions like Alzheimer's, depression, Parkinson's, areas with huge unmet medical needs.
Yeah, definitely complex areas for drug development. Okay, so oncology is biggest, CNS is growing fast. Finally, who are the main customers, the end users of these HCRO services?
The biggest slice of the pie, according to the report, is pharmaceutical companies.
The big pharma players.
Yeah, mainly because of their sheer scale of R&D investment and the complexity of their often global trial programs.
Okay.
However, biotechnology companies are flagged as a rapidly growing customer segment.
Ah, the biotechs. That makes sense, too.
Yeah, you can see why, right? Smaller biotechs,
Yeah.
maybe focused on really innovative niche therapies.
Right. They might not have the giant internal infrastructure.
Exactly. They might lack the resources or the established setup to run big trials themselves, so they rely heavily on CROs for that flexibility and specialized support to move their products forward.
Makes perfect sense. They need to partner up.
They often do. And you also have medical device companies, academic institutions, government bodies using HCROs too, just typically smaller segments compared to pharma and biotech.
Well, this has been really illuminating. This report paints a picture of a seriously dynamic and really expanding industry. So if we were to boil it down, what are the key takeaways for you listening?
I'd say first, the global HCRO market is set for really substantial growth, hitting close to $70 billion by 2033.
Yeah.
Second, this growth is largely fueled by tricky regulations, the need for specialized skills, and the drive for efficiency and cost savings in R&D.
Uh-huh.
Third, while North America leads now, watch the Asia-Pacific region. That's where the fastest growth is expected.
Right, the real hot spot.
And finally, we're seeing shifts in demand, like the boom in regulatory services in focus areas like oncology and the fast-growing CNS segment really shaping the market.
And hopefully this deep dive has given you, our listener, a much clearer view not just of the big numbers, but the forces behind them in this healthcare contract research outsourcing market.
Yeah, the why behind the what's.
Exactly. So as you think about this growth heading towards a nearly USD 70 billion market, maybe consider the ripple effects. What could this mean for how quickly new drugs get developed?
Good question.
How might it change clinical trials themselves? Will we see even faster adoption of virtual methods or AI? And maybe zooming out further, what new opportunities or perhaps challenges could arise for the whole global healthcare system from such a massive expansion in outsourced research?
Definitely food for thought.
It really is something to mull over.